Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donohue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Yeah.
And we are recording. I'm talking into my mic.
I will also talk into my mic.
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay. 5, 4. Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donohue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello,
Happy
my
New Year.
Happy New Year to you, my friend. It's so great to see your face up on my Zoom.
I love seeing your face on the Zoom.
We took just a wee bitty break between Christmas and New Year's just because we needed it. So we're very grateful to all y'all for all the support you give us all year long. And we're super excited about this new year. It's going to
we are
better than ever. We've got some great shows planned. We're super psyched. We're rested.
I'm happy.
We're happy.
So happy.
Yes. In case you're wondering, we are the podcast that talks about creeps from the past to the present. We're talking about some creepy history that still happens today. We're going to be talking about that in a minute. And then the other one of us, we're always challenged to come up with a non-creep.
Mm-hmm.
And just to give you a hint, Sonia, I'm not going to tell you who it is.
Okay.
They probably murdered someone. Okay.
Doesn't sound non-creepy to me. I'm very intrigued by this one.
Be sure to follow us on social media as long as those things exist.
Yeah. Whatever your channel is, we're probably there.
We're on Twitter at CreepPod because somebody had What a Creep for 10 years and never used it. Creep. But everything else, we're at What a Creep Podcast, including Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram. We have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. You can send suggestions there. Or if you would like some stickers, I just got a new batch in and they're glittery and cool.
Oh, cute.
Give us your address wherever you are on the planet of Earth. We're not creeps. We'll send you some stickers just to cheer y'all up.
She'll do it.
I will do it. Just dare me. Dare me. Okay, Sonia, tell them about the website.
Yes, you can go to whatacreeppodcast.com and it's everything you ever wanted to know about our podcast, but we're afraid to ask. You shouldn't be afraid to ask, but whatever. You do you. There are links to all of our past episodes, and in those little posts are also all of our show notes because we source every single thing we do. We're not making this stuff up, and we want to give people credit for their work. If you're looking to do a deeper dive on any of our creeps, that's a great place to start. That's what I would do if I were you.
Right?
There's also a link to our merch shop where you can get t-shirts and tote bags and face masks because we're still in a pandemic, y'all. So get those things. It's got some fun artwork. There's ones with our logos. There's some that say like not a creep, stuff like that, whatever. And there's also a link to our Substack where we do like a monthly newsletter. And I just told Margot before we start recording, I realized it's a new year, but it's also a new month. So I need to write the newsletter and I haven't done it yet. So it's not too late to get January's newsletter. And there's our Patreon page. You want to tell them about that, Margot?
I'll try to do it without burping. I just guzzled some Perrier because I'm fancy.
Good luck to you.
Thank you. We have our first 8 seasons on our Patreon wall. We're not getting rich off this. We're doing this just to basically pay off some of the bills that we use, especially for the sources that we use. Like Rolling Stone alone is $100 a year.
We just want the world to be a little less creepy.
That's all we want. So we're putting that there. We also put out 2 bonus episodes a month, every month for everyone who's on Patreon. So please sign up if you're interested. I want to thank Kate, Karen, Michelle, Joanne, and Ellen for all signing up for Patreon. Thank you. And I was just telling Sonia off the air that we're going to start posting some stuff, videos and like that we post usually on TikTok or on the Facebook page because we realize like some of y'all just don't want to do Facebook or Instagram or you're not allowed to have TikTok or whatever. So we're going to post some free things on our Patreon. So get the app and you can get some free stuff too.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Maybe someday we'll actually like maybe record our Zoom.
We will do that. We will you know what? Write that down, Sonia, right next to with your highlighter pen. Write that down for the next thing. I want to thank the following
Write it
people for supporting us on iTunes. Because if money's tight, we totally understand. The bills are coming in now. We get it. So we want to thank Rochelle Velvet, from Australia. We also have Central Coast NSW Australia and British Beck. All of them gave us 5-star reviews in iTunes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. It really helps us, counterbalance the people who are total creeps and assholes there. But if it's Spotify, you can also leave us a review there. Good Pods, we've been on their lists a bunch of times, like wherever you get your podcast.
Yes.
First of all, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for listening. And if they ask you to leave a few stars, if you could, that'd be great. If nothing else, ask for a sticker, slap it on your laptop, go to the coffee shop, look cool.
Yeah. It's free.
It's all free.
It's all for free.
It's all for you, Damien. All for you.
We'll do that movie next October.
Oh, I love that movie.
That would be a good one.
All right now. So, Sonia.
Yeah.
I think we went through all the rigmarole.
I think so. You ready to jump into this?
Let's just do it, goddammit.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Forgot to mention. We use salty language in this program. So if you have problems with that, now's a good time to put the earphones in or put the kids in another car. I don't know. Somebody tagged me on Blue Sky and pointed out that I say fuck like every other word. And I'm fucking sorry. Apparently I do. It just slips out, y'all. So were they upset or was it just an observation?
No, I think it was just an observation, but I was like, what are you going to do? I also had a child in my house visiting last week, and he said, you have a lot of dirty words around your house. And I was like, fuck yeah, I do.
When you pay the bills?
That's right. I'll hang up. I have all the dirty words, kid.
He said that in my place too when he visited. I was like, I pay the rent here.
Yeah. Don't read it if you don't like it. Get out of my house, kid.
Earmuffs.
Then I knocked him down. No, I'm kidding. Okay, let's get into it. So I was actually listening to, I believe it was Maintenance Phase.
Ooh, we love them.
I love Maintenance Phase. And I believe somebody casually mentioned ugly laws. And I was like, but they didn't go into it. They just kind of threw it out there. And I was like, WTF, what's an ugly law? I don't even know what this is. So I started doing a little research. So we're going to talk about ugly laws. I'm going to list my sources for you all. So there's the book, The Ugly Laws, Disability in Public by Susan Schweck, I think is how you pronounce it. Grunge, a Medium article by Yewandi Aid, Mother Jones, PBS, SF Gate, and Wikipedia. Not a very long list for me. I normally have a lot. But anyway, so in general, laws are supposed to protect us. But from the 1860s to the 1970s,
oh my God,
many cities across the country had these so-called quote unquote ugly laws. Now, that's not what they were called.
Okay, ready?
But that's what, yes.
Here's my cheer. Ready? I told you I was going to do this on the air.
Yes.
UGLY, you ain't got no alibi. You ugly.
Ugly.
What? You ugly. All right, that's it.
That's it. We used to do that cheer in my high school too, because we were the Ugly Eagles. That was our mascot. Anyway, again, they weren't officially called that, but that's what they ended up getting nicknamed. And I know the name makes it sound like the police were just walking around and they're like, you're not attractive enough to be in public.
You're asymmetrical. Your features are not asymmetrical.
That's right. You are under arrest. No, that is not what it really was. It was
whatever.
It was a law designed to criminalize people who were poor or homeless or had disabilities or disfigurements. It played a part in racial segregation of public facilities. It was used to ban immigrants for being quote unquote unfit. And it played a part in the eugenics movement. So this is
eugenics movement. That's something that needs to go on the list.
Yeah. So this stuff sounds pretty creepy. So we're going to get into it. The earliest instance of an ugly law is 1867. This is 2 years after the Civil War here in the United States, and it started in my town, San Francisco. We're number one. We're number one. There's an article in one of the newspapers here. It's an old newspaper. It doesn't exist anymore. It's called the Weekly Mercury, although we do have the San Jose Mercury News now.
Still.
Anyway, but here's a quote from it. San Francisco seems destined to become a city of refuge for all the Lazzaronis of the Pacific Coast. I'll get to that word in a minute. As one treads our streets, the eye is shocked at the frequent appearance of maimed creatures whose audacity is only paralleled by the hideousness of their deformities. So I looked up
Audacity.
Lazzaroni.
Just kidding.
And it was a picture of a white man.
Because Ramona says it as audacity. I don't know if you've heard that episode yet, but
I looked it up. It was a picture of a white man. So Lazzaroni was a slang word for like a homeless person in Naples, Italy.
Italians have some good good words.
Exactly. It's also now the name of an Italian liquor company, and I hope they did a little Googling before they settled on that name, but maybe they're trying to reclaim it. So the reason for making these laws was to discourage people with visible disabilities from being in public spaces or asking for money, begging for money, because it was believed that it was bringing shame to the community. So San Francisco, had a lot of people come to it during the gold rush, and it was filled with people who came to the city for gold and didn't get it, right? So we have like a lot of poor people here.
And patchouli.
And patchouli. And historians believe that like this like self-made attitude in California is what made a lot of citizens like really unsympathetic to the less fortunate. Like, we came here and pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps.
That old.
Gold. Yeah, by finding gold. And because you weren't able to do that, that's on you. It's because you're pathetic and you're wasteful and all of these things, which, by the way, isn't horribly different than what's still happening in San Francisco.
Rugged individualism, Sonia. That's what said Rush Limbaugh.
There are a lot of people who moved to the Bay Area for the dot-com boom in the 2000s. There's a lot of people that moved here in, like, say, 2007 as well. And then things blow up. It doesn't work. It bursts. And they are here in the Bay Area where it's fucking expensive.
Right.
It's
and they
really
didn't create
expensive.
any middle-class housing because nobody wants
Yes.
that. Right.
Yes. So there still seems to be a parallel here for me. This is what I was noticing. But anyway, so all these people come for the gold rush. They don't get their money, and San Francisco starts to have all of these people here now. There's the people that didn't strike it rich, didn't strike
Gold in them bar hills?
They did not find gold in them there hills. And it's also after the Civil War, so there's a lot of soldiers around that are wounded. And
yes, that was a bloody war.
Yes. So the street conditions in San Francisco are really bad. And not really bad. I guess I shouldn't say it that way. But there are a lot of people here who could use help. And there are disabled veterans. There are the poor, and they're unable to work. So, by the way, also people in San Francisco, even if people were veterans, like disabled veterans panhandling, begging for money, they wouldn't believe them even if they were. They were like, you're faking it. You're just...
you're a liar.
Yeah, you're lying. You just don't want to work. You're lazy, et cetera, et cetera. So San Francisco passes this law that outlaws
Ugly
people
panhandling.
What they consider,
what they consider to be. Sorry, I'm being.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm being
exactly.
glib. Yeah.
So the first person arrested under this law was a former Union soldier named Martin Oates. He was paralyzed from the war. He was arrested, and then the city held him in prison until they finished construction of what they called an almshouse, which is also known as a poorhouse. So when they would say, you're going to send me to the poorhouse, that's where that comes. That's where that comes from. But these people weren't allowed to be in public So how are they supposed to live? How are they supposed to get jobs if they can't be in public? Like, it was just a whole thing. So these people were gathered up, they were arrested, held in prison, then they would be sent to like a sanitarium or the poorhouse, basically. By the way, some of these people got jobs at freak shows. This was also the rise of the freak show.
Right. Coney
So-
Island, like only like a few years ago stopped.
Yes.
I'm not even kidding you.
Yeah. So other cities, especially ones around railroad lines, started passing their versions of this law. So it was like Chicago, Portland, Denver, Omaha, Reno, the entire state of Pennsylvania, New York. Get
out.
The whole state was like, fuck this.
No
Like,
Liberty
all
Bell
of
for
them.
you.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's New York and Los Angeles tried to pass these laws, but they actually didn't pass. Like, it didn't happen. So I wanted to know what these laws sounded like. So I looked it up, and this is a pretty representative one. This is the one from Chicago. It says any person who is diseased, maimed, mutilated, or in any way deformed so as to be unsightly or disgusting object or an improper person, that's very vague, to be allowed in or on the streets, highways, thoroughfares, or public places in the city shall not therein or thereon expose himself or herself to public view.
What are they supposed to do? Spontaneously combust?
Yes. You are to hide. So the fine was like $1, which doesn't sound like, but it was like, that would be like maybe $50 now.
But if you don't have a job, how are you going to pay the
Exactly.
fucking thing? Oh, Jesus
Yes.
Christ.
And then you could get incarcerated, right, in the poorhouse or sanitarium, or you get these fines that you can never pay, which, by the way, again, we have some very similar things now where we, like, especially here in San Francisco, where we have a lot of homeless, and then they arrest them and they charge them a fine. And it's like, they don't have any money. What are you doing?
Right.
Like, it's bananas. So we have them all over the United States. Then the United States at the time also had some control in the Philippines. Apparently, we had some sway over there. So in 1902, they passed their own similar law. And it included the phrase, no person who is diseased. So even if you were like sick and in public, you had to be dealt with. It's pretty bananas. This is bananas to me.
And people used to say, like, oh, it was such a Christian country and everyone's so
Yes.
good. So it was so much better
No.
back in the old days.
No. So enforcement of these laws obviously proved very tricky because who decides? So things like diseased, maimed, mutilated, deformed in any way, that's not easy to define. It's a very vague term. So in 1916, a woman named Mother Hastings was actually paid to leave Portland because she was, and this is a quote, too terrible a sight for children to see.
Oh, for God's sakes.
And she was like, okay. So she took the money and she went to Los Angeles. And this kind of reminds me of what some of our states do now. So recently, like the shitty governors of like Texas and Florida have like put immigrants
On buses.
on a buses or planes and sends them to other states. And they think it's their like gotcha moment.
Yeah.
You know,
Sanctuary
but it really,
cities.
yes, but it really makes them look like,
Unfeeling
these-
pricks.
yes, who aren't even doing a good job at their state because they can't take care of people who are vulnerable. Like, I don't understand how this is a gotcha moment, but it is something that happens. There's another man in Indianapolis who was arrested because he had a seizure when he was getting off a streetcar, and the police thought he was drunk, so they arrested him. And
Good
then a
job, cops.
yeah, exactly. So then a doctor comes to the jail and is like, he has epilepsy, and they released him from custody. But even when he was released, he then was, they institutionalized him for life
Oh, no.
for having epilepsy.
Oh, no.
Is that awful?
It's fucked up.
This is awful. So I was reading Susan Schweck's book, and she said that these ugly laws were usually enforced in cities that focused on reform. I'm going to put that in quotes. So there was a lot of like prohibition on alcohol and gambling, and they would be like, and then you're a bad type. And so they would like sweep these people up and put them in jail and institutions and stuff like that. But then the cities that actually had like alcohol and gambling and red light districts were actually more open to helping the people who needed it, which I thought was really, really interesting and not what I expected. They also used to use these laws to remove children with disabilities from schools.
No.
Yep. There was a whole case in 1893. There's Watson versus the city of Cambridge, and it was about a boy who was in school and he had some sort of mental, issues, and they found him disruptive and they kicked him out of school.
I'm just going to lose it.
It's awful. This is awful.
Our most vulnerable. Kids.
Exactly. Yes. In 1875, the Chicago Tribune wrote this whole article about the, quote, disgraceful spectacle of a thoroughfare with these like hideous monstrosities, which are only half human. That's how they describe them, begging, for money. Like the media was very complicit in this. They talked about it all the time. Another story warned of like there was a person in their town with repulsive deformity that presents a serious danger to any woman in delicate health, quote unquote.
So like the Elephant Man. I mean,
they were they're so deformed or whatever that like ladies will faint if they see them. So we have to like.
The ladies are fainting because you're putting them in this underwear that restricts their fucking breathing, and we don't feed them enough. So that's why women are fainting.
It was awful.
Yeah.
So, and just the idea that someone, if you are unsightly, and again, how do you describe what is unsightly?
Are we sightly? I guess we are. I guess we're sightly.
We're sightly. I think most people are. I think most people are sightly.
Yeah, I mean, but it's so subjective.
Unless you're Ted Cruz, he is unsightly.
Yeah,
Ted Cruz
completely unsightly.
He's repulsive to me. He makes me whenever I see Ted Cruz or Matt Gaetz. So, and then there would be people with disabilities who are out in public, and people would sometimes they would claim that they were faking it, that not only are they like have these things because of something they did, we're like, you're a bad person, you're socially unacceptable, all of these things. Again, sweep them up, put them in the poorhouse, put them in jail. In the 1860s in San Francisco, they used to use this law to round up Chinese immigrants and their descendants unlawfully and detain them, claiming that they would spread disease. And then these laws were also used in segregation, eugenics, in institutionalizing anyone, basically.
Back when they had institutions to send people, by the way. We don't even do that anymore.
Yes. Poverty and criminality were often attributed to, quote unquote, bad genes.
What?
And then they would, it was grounds for sterilization. So forced sterilization on people. And this primarily affected people who were in state institutions, which were predominantly Black people and people from other countries. They believed that they were trying to make the world a better place by like sterilizing people that they deemed ugly.
Jesus, everything
ugly
old is
meaning
new again.
Yes, exactly. So the U.S. Supreme Court had this 1927 opinion. It was in something called Buck versus Bell. And it upheld like compulsory sterilizations for hereditary defects. And they said it's better for all the world if instead of waiting to execute degenerate offspring for crime or to let them starve for their imbecility, society can prevent those who are manifestly unfit from continuing their kind. So if you had any kind of disability, it would be fine to forcibly sterilize you.
I'm disgusted.
It's so gross. So this was all in the like early 1800s, early 1900s. I'm sorry, late 1800s, early 1900s. And then the like power of these laws start to kind of wane after World War One. Like a lot of people start returning from the war and they are physically or mentally disabled. And it became not very popular to discriminate against people who had served the country at that point. So after 1819, they didn't pass any more of these laws, but they were still on 1918. Sorry.
1918. Okay.
Yeah.
That's also when they had the flu epidemic.
Yes. Yes. So they kind of stopped enforcing those laws at that point because it was like not politically popular, but they were on the books. They also like the fact that they were just out there. This is like then Germany did a whole like they picked up on these laws and they had this idea like they tested their like Holocaust things on people with disabilities first. They killed like 300,000 people with disabilities. They called them quote unquote useless eaters whose lives were unworthy of living. And a lot of the language used in this stuff is very similar to what you would find in these ugly laws. So the last time that law was actually used, they arrested someone in 1974. 74! In Omaha, Nebraska, police officer arrested a homeless man for the crime of being homeless. And apparently he had some visible scarring on his body. So he arrested him. And the judge... he goes before the judge, and this is what the judge threw it out. By the way, he like got rid of it, but this is what he said: "What's the standard for ugliness? Does the law mean that every time my neighbor's funny-looking kids ask for something, I should have them arrested?" Yeah, burnt like neighbors' funny-looking kids.
But also, it's just like it's a guy sitting on a corner with some scars on him. Like, what is he doing?
Yes. Exactly. So between the 1960s and 70s, a lot of laws started coming forward to actually protect people with disabilities and various forms of physical and mental, issues. There, that's the word I was going for. And then, of course, the Americans with Disability Act passes in 90. Can't believe it's like as late as 1990.
Please.
Which really puts an end to these kind of laws. But I wanted to talk about this on our episode because, one, I had never heard of these laws before, and it seemed fucking made up. I was like, this is not a thing, but it was a thing. And it's because history often repeats itself, right? Everything old is new again. And a lot of cities in the United States are dealing with the issue of homelessness, and it's a huge issue here in the Bay Area. And I live in San Francisco, and there are encampments all over the Bay Area of people like they're just trying to live their lives, and there are all kinds of different policies for dealing with this, and really nothing is working. And just a couple months ago here in San Francisco, we had something called Apex, and the mayor, quote unquote, cleaned up the city. I'm going to put those in quotes. And what they did was they just went around, they broke up the encampments, and they try to like hide these people away. And it's under the guise of like improving tourism, but I think it's also about being embarrassed and shameful.
That's
it's
what
like
Giuliani did.
Yeah,
the broken
exactly.
window thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Just
And
ship them to New Jersey. That was our attitude. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like
and stop and frisk.
It's not fixing the issue. It's just hiding it. And so, and they did it again. They had similar things in Los Angeles, and they passed these city ordinances. I haven't seen like a state law like this, but there are a lot of like city laws, city ordinances that are passing that really target, again, our most vulnerable people. And they're criminalizing people for being homeless or poor or suffering from mental illness or addiction. And this sounds very familiar to me. And it doesn't work. And, it's really about sweeping these people up, sweeping up people who are houseless, who are poor, have disabilities or mental illness, and putting them somewhere where we can't see them. And
make it someone else's problem.
Exactly. And then I was thinking about it again last night and woke up at like 3 a.m. and opened my notes app and wrote it in there that during the height of the pandemic, during like early 2020, we were running out of ventilators all over the country. And there were actual conversations with like healthcare leaders who were like, how do we prioritize who gets ventilators? And there was conversations about people with disabilities were a reason to deny care. Like deciding that like their quality of life isn't as valuable as someone else.
And it's happening now. Like, why do I have to wear a mask? Why do I have to get a vaccine?
Yes.
Because it protects other people. Well, if they can't make it, they can't make it. It's
exactly.
Except if it's someone you knew or a family member.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's somebody you cared about.
Yes.
All of a sudden.
And then this one, when I heard this one before, but I had to mention it in here because it made me so fucking angry. Because our country is fucking broken here in the United States. Our children are forced to do something called active shooter drills. Yep. Where they have to like prepare for the fact that somebody at any moment could break into their school and start shooting up the joint. I had heard that some schools were evacuating the special needs classes last.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Again, because their life's not as valuable. Right?
Right. That's terrible.
So this stuff is very upsetting to me because it's fucking wrong and I take it personally, but also like the law seems so the idea of the ugly laws seemed so outrageous to me that I couldn't even believe it. Like I was like, that's not really a thing. And then I lie to myself and say like, it wouldn't happen today, but it would happen today. It's just not as blatant. And this is why I really wanted to talk about it in the show. So this episode is maybe structured a little different than I normally do. But while researching for this, I realized I'm like, I need to be paying closer attention to these city ordinances, to these state laws, and ask myself, are they helping people or are they just hiding people? And that's kind of where I ended up. I don't have an answer. Again,
no,
I'm not
look, it's easy for us to be like, oh, well, just take care of it. But it's a tough problem.
Yeah.
And
I'm not a politician. I'm not in a think tank where this is my job to solve these things. I don't know what the solution is, but the solution is not hiding people.
Right.
That's never the solution. There's got to be a better way than what we're doing. And that is the history of ugly laws.
Sonia, that was fascinating and irritating and
yes,
and like it really gets under my
It just
skin.
doesn't seem real. It doesn't seem real.
But there's all, we always hear about old laws and like you couldn't bring a chicken into the church or something. I mean, but it usually is just a good hearty har and knee slapper. When it's just like, no, I just don't want somebody unhoused with scars anywhere
where
near
I can see them.
That's for some other places.
It makes me uncomfortable, and I don't want to be uncomfortable. Why should I have to be uncomfortable?
Right.
With people who are different than me that have struggles that I don't want to deal with. This is too hard for me. And then I faint on my couch.
On your fainting couch because of the whalebone corset that they threw on you. Did you see the clip I posted in Facebook and on Patreon? Bill Maher with Seth MacFarlane.
Yes,
and the dipshitness of this man and he's just drunk and stoned and saying stupid shit. Bill Maher, I mean, I'm sure Seth MacFarlane has his stuff, but he's at least drinking a ginger ale and just talking coherently about how vaccines work. And Bill Maher's just kind of doing that. Well, if you don't have immunity, then what am I supposed to do? I'm like, do you know how many people have immune issues? And this has been going on since the dawn of time. We look out for people.
Yes.
And then he wants congratulations for getting the vaccine when he only got it because his job required it.
Yes.
It's like, you're not a hero.
No.
But it's also that very selfish. I got mine.
Too bad for you.
Too bad for you. I guess I was just born under a lucky star. Tough shit to you.
Or I worked really hard and you didn't.
And I deserve it because I worked harder than everybody else. Like, never mind, I was born on third base. You don't know what other people went through. And to presume just because you think you worked hard, which is...
Yeah, or just... I see, again, I live in San Francisco. I see people all the time who are struggling. I have nothing but empathy for them. I really do, because I don't know their story. Like,
no, and there's a women's shelter down the street from me. And yeah, I have the same thing. Like, and sometimes I get yelled at and stuff, but I'm like, yeah, there's something going on they need to be helped. And giving them a safe place to sleep at night. I mean... Yeah.
This is a little off topic, but before we started recording, I was watching like The Daughters of a Cult or something like that, because I can't stop myself, and I'm watching all these things about cults. The women talking in this documentary were raised in a totally bananas like cult, where like they were like people were being murdered all around them. There was like polygamy involved. There was all kinds of stuff. These women in the documentary, they look like they could be like Jan from HR.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking like, how bananas is it that like the woman who like is in the cube next to you and you could be like, hey, like, you know, happy holidays. And you don't know their story. They were raised in a cult and all like, we don't know people's stories.
No, we don't. And just because somebody's attractive doesn't mean they're better than you or they've got it all figured out. Or honestly, like they can't be a mess either. I mean, or destructive.
Yes.
I mean, okay.
Just ask, like, when you hear about these things, is it actually helping anybody? Is it actually helping this? Yeah. Is it helping the situation? Or are we just pushing it under a rug? Are we just pretending?
It's make it go away so I don't have to feel bad about myself. Yeah. So I don't have to confront awful things in the world. Because that's that's Karen material.
Yeah, that's not good enough.
No.
And that's not what our government should be doing.
No.
Mm-mm. So I'm done. I'm done now.
Okay, let's take a quick break and then we will talk about our not a creep this week.
Ooh. I can't wait to hear it.
All right, Sonia, you ready?
Yeah. Give it to me. You're already laughing.
Because our not creep. Okay, I'm going to go. This is on record. This is how I feel. This is the evolved me. 5 decades on this planet. This is what I know. This is how I feel.
I'm very intrigued.
If you are abusive, physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, if your victim takes revenge on you, fuck off. I just think it's the yin and yang of the universe. You
fucked around and now you found out.
You fucked around, you found out. You know, you beat your spouse.
Yeah.
And terrify them, and then one day they decide you're gone. I'm fine with that. You probably don't want me on the jury, or you probably do want me on the jury, but I'm just like, no. And I've had arguments with people that are like, oh no, but if you're not really in danger in that very moment, I'm like, the element of surprise is sometimes all you fucking have when you're a victim. And when you live with somebody who's abusing you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine with this. I'll allow it.
Okay. Do you know who Gypsy Rose Blanchard is, Sonia?
Oh, this name is super familiar to me. Please tell me.
Her mother, Claudine Dee Blanchard, was her mother. She was born July 27th, 1991. I feel old. Jesus. She was 24 when she had her daughter. Her husband, Rod, was 17. They're in Louisiana.
Okay.
Rod leaves at some point because this is just not what he wanted. and he was a kid. And anyway,
Yeah.
Gypsy and her mother, and he noticed that Gypsy seems to get sick a lot, and her mom is always taking her to the doctor. And he wonders what's going on. And then their home is flooded because of Hurricane Katrina in Louisiana, in New Orleans. So they go to a new space, and that's when she realizes that their hospital was flooded and that she doesn't have, so Gypsy doesn't have vaccination records or her birth certificate. Like, it's all gone. And that's when her mom, Dee Dee, gets the idea. Everybody thinks she's a lot younger than she is anyway because she's so small. I'll sell her as like being really young and having a terminal disease. And she keeps sending her daughter to the doctors and the hospitals. Mm-hmm. And there's been there's HBO in 2017 had Mommy, Dead and Dearest.
Okay.
And then there was the HBO series, The Act, Hulu series, and it has Patricia Arquette, and it's excellent.
Yes.
And you just, because she does that velvet Louisiana Bayou accent so well.
Hulu wants me to watch this so bad, by
Yes.
the way. Hulu, every time I sign up to go into my Hulu, it's
They're
like,
like,
don't
"The
you want to
Act."
watch the act? Are you ready to watch the act yet?
And I get it if you don't, especially if you're a parent, you have kids. Like, this shit's upsetting. Her daughter gets smaller and smaller, and it gets her head shaved because she's convinced the kid has cancer. She joins all these organizations that do those. I'm trying to think of the word where they give presents to people like they think are
like Make-A-Wish.
Make-A-Wish.
stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So like Trisha Yearwood sent her an autographed picture. She got to go to Disneyland, and she becomes this. They move to a whole other state, and she just does these like these not telethons, but something close to that, where these charity events. It's all to raise money for Gypsy Rose, and then people are like, "We love Gypsy Rose," and they're just she's abusing her daughter. The kid's not sick.
So fucked
She's
up.
using her to make money to sell her misery. And it's because her mother is, get it, she's damaged. She's psychologically not well. But once again, it's never an excuse to abuse somebody. And if you abuse someone in my world, in my universe, they have every right to get back at you. Don't come to me.
I can't even wrap my head around it. Like, I have a kid. I can't even imagine like doing anything like to harm him or have him pretend to be sick or like do things to make him sick. I don't understand these people.
You could kill him doing that.
They're fucking broken. Like, they're so broken. There's like,
It's Munchausen
boggles my
syndrome.
fucking mind.
Munchausen by proxy. So, like, because there's Munchausen syndromes when you're convinced you're sick all the time. And my mother had a touch of this. Like, she was always going to the doctors for things. But she was very selfish. Like, she hated taking us to the doctors for things. And she's like, and she had 4 kids in 5 years. I mean, the woman was overwhelmed. But she's like, it's a pain in the ass. We were talking about this case, and she's like, who wants to go to the doctors all the time? It's
right.
It's, and if nothing wrong with the kid. And she just gives her all these drugs. She weird diets, shaves her head, tells her it's not going to grow back, underfeeds her. She's not interacting with other kids. She's just this cash cow. So, on the day of June 14th, 2015, Gypsy has a boyfriend that she meets. She's 23 at this point, but looks much younger. He's 26. And she tells him, my mom's abusing me and she's got all this money. But, I don't have any of it because she's also holding that over her head. I take care of you. I'm your caretaker.
Yeah.
She's convinced her she's much younger than she is. I should make that clear, too, because she's not even quite sure. When she finally figures it out, she gets on the internet. This is like everything that brings like Scientology and all these other things down. Like they go on the internet like, oh, fuck. And she gets this new fella and he's pissed off on her behalf too. And so They arrange it that he stabs her mother to death. I don't say that's okay,
Right.
but I understand it.
You're hilarious.
I understand. It just, I'm
Not saying you should stab people.
no, but I understand it. Okay. She is sent to prison because you're not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to stab people.
And it was for 10 years, and she served 8. And she just got out this week, Sonia.
Oh, shit.
And she's
I didn't
on
know-
the
I didn't know any of this.
TikTok, and she's posting videos. She's got like 6 million followers now, 3 or 6
Oh,
million.
my gosh.
Yeah. It's a,
How
it's a
does
prime
how
number.
does she? Yeah, how does she seem? Like when you
Great.
see these things.
Normal. Relieved. She wrote, by
Right.
the way, the day, I should say this, the day after Dee Dee was found murdered, and she didn't do it. She had her boyfriend do it, but still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She wrote on Facebook, "Hallelujah, the bitch is dead." So not
Damn.
exactly showing remorse or
Yes.
once again, I understand. If I were on that jury, I'd be like, so
You are so funny. Margot was teasing me all week about who her non-creep was going to be.
because I was
I would
convinced
have
you were
never
following
guessed.
this. Yeah, I was convinced you were following
No.
this, so I didn't want to. Okay. Yeah, so she has an ebook out. It's Gypsy Rose. It's not Gypsy Rose Lee. It was Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I'm sorry. It's an ebook.
Is the book called "I'm Glad My Mom Died Too"?
No.
Like TOO.
No, and she's super mad she didn't get first dibs on that title. No, it's more about she has Lifetime Television is following her. They're doing a documentary. You know what?
Right.
She's got to make some money, y'all. Just like everybody, we all have to make a living.
Yeah.
They're filming her. She's married. He seems like a really sweet guy. She loves him.
Not to the guy that stabbed. huh?
No, they broke up. Sometimes jail will do that to a relationship.
Appreciate you.
Bless all.
Appreciate what you did for me, but
Yes, exactly.
I only like you as a friend.
You got what I need. But you say he's just a friend. They met in 2022. They got married. He seems really nice from what I could tell. She's trying to move forward. So she
Yeah.
starts on TikTok. She's on all the social media. She has millions of followers. And she's just trying to get through the day and the life. And
Yeah.
she has an ebook out. It's sort of like the lessons that she has learned since then.
Yeah.
But this is a first.
Yes.
A convicted murderer. I say Gypsy Rose Lee. Sorry, Gypsy Rose Lee was a stripper and also not a creep. Gypsy Rose. Sorry, she's married to Ryan Anderson. So Gypsy Rose Anderson. Y'all, good luck. Godspeed. I got your
Hope she
back.
gets some hope she gets some therapy.
Hope you got therapy.
So it helps.
It helps. But I'm not going to
Yeah.
speak on behalf of you. I'm just speaking on behalf of myself. I got your back. If anybody ever gives you a hard time, call me.
You're hilarious.
That's our not
that's
creep
a-
this week.
That's a really good one. That's super interesting.
All right. So you know what else is interesting?
Dorking out.
Yeah. That's the name of our other
Yeah.
podcast where we dork out about movies. We also took last
Yes.
week off. Thank you guys so much for all of you for being patient. I know how much you
Yes.
love it when Sonia and Margot like go after a 90s thriller and it's been a little while.
Yes.
Sonia, what are
Yes.
we doing next?
We are finally tackling Basic Instinct.
Woo!
I am really looking forward to this. It's going to be so fun to talk about. I told my sister we were doing this one, and she's like, I'm absolutely positive you've already done an episode on Basic Instinct. And I was like, we have not.
No.
We haven't. But it has come up many times.
We
on
covered
other-
Sliver. That's like
Yes,
That's a
exactly.
very favorite episode for a lot of people. So that's
Yes.
Dorking Out. Follow us there. All those things I mentioned at the top of the show for What a Creep. Reach out to us with your ideas for creeps and non-creeps. A lot of times non-creeps can be rough. I mean, just difficult to find. I just picked
Yeah.
a murderer for Christ's sake. So please reach out.
I think this is fascinating.
But I think she Yeah, she's not a creep to me. We love it when you use the Annie Potts GIF. You got one from Ghostbusters, or use anything you like. Use Gypsy Rose or something from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. You know, I got texts, videos, screenshots.
Text, videos, screenshots.
But send us your suggestions there. whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram and the Facebook and the TikTok and Blue Sky and all the places you could find me there. My friend, where can they find you?
You could find me at Brooklyn Margot for Twitter, for TikTok, and for Blue Sky. And with Threads and with my site, it's Brooklyn Fit Chick. Y'all, thank you for, sticking it out with us. I hope you enjoyed this episode. This was super fun, as always, Sonia.
Yes. Happy New Year, friends.
Stay safe. Be good. Don't be a creep.
Be a creep. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.